So it should appear. Is it okay?
Very good.
You see? Yeah. Okay. Hello. Hello together. My name is Doerr. I'm from University of Greifswald, and I'm presenting this time how collaboration enhances science dramatically, or at least we expect that these collaborations will accelerate innovation in science in a very deep and very interesting way. So I've prepared a few overviews of overview slides of where we are currently engaged in and what is currently discussed in my environment. So the idea is to build upon shared knowledge, so that you don't reinvent the wheel every time, but you share your knowledge and you can evaluate, reevaluate, and rethink what is done, and know, of course, what others did. And the big question is, how do you do that? And I'm in university laboratories, so I'm a biochemist, and I brought a few use cases just so that you get some idea why this is nice and why this is helpful. So let's just have a look at a protein, for example, because I'm in a protein engineering group. So proteins are very complex molecules. This is a very cartoon-like sketch of it. If you really look at the bonds, it's very, very complex network, and it does very exciting things like very specialized transformations, chemical transformations. So it's much more powerful than a normal chemical reaction, because with enzymes you can, for example, stereoselectively transform a certain molecule. And to achieve such reactions, one sometimes needs to apply machine learning. So one needs to learn from these molecules, learn a lot. So you need to learn structurally dependencies between functions and the modifications, and need to learn something about the expression host, so the E. coli cell, the metabolism, where and when this protein is expressed and under which conditions. Then you need to learn something about the chemistry. So there's a lot of things that you need to understand and learn to come to this final reaction. Another application, another use case is modeling of chemical reactions, and this is also related to biochemistry if you want, but it's very general, so it's very broad. So we are also involved in finding semantic representations of reactions, so defining ontologies, hierarchical structures of terms, and relationships between these terms to do, for example, reasoning, semantic reasoning. So semantic knowledge, derived knowledge from knowledge graphs. So these are applications. And another application is, for example, use case for collaborations is if you have complex machinery like this robotic platform which we run, then you might collaborate with people that do lab automation standardization like SiLA, or do share platform experiences like the Global Biofoundry Alliance, GBA. My first focus is on this German National Research Data Infrastructure, NFDI, where we are spread over 30 consortia from social sciences until till chemistry or medical sciences, and we build up a bottom-up infrastructure for science and for research, for data. And two of these projects I will a little bit more, or no, three of these I will introduce a little bit. So the base services of this NFDI has selected these seven, yeah, eight, seven projects. They are one is the NFT, is the Jupyter Hub service. So this should be then provided to all partners that are inside of NFDI. And then we have data management plan services, so to handle data management plans. Then knowledge graphs, so knowledge graph, building up a knowledge graph infrastructure, so support with building up knowledge graph infrastructures. Software development, so share common developments, share softwares. Then we have training part, so where people get trained in this consortia, in this section here. Then identity and access management. This is interesting or important if you have like shared collaborations and you can't share openly data, so but you need to somehow give a grant access to it, then and that not everyone develops its own identity service. There's a central development there. Then a PID service, so a persistent identifier service, that is then provided to all partners to identify all kinds of entities or items. It could be something like a data set. It can also be like a sample. It can be a device. So a lot of different things can be persistently identified. And the idea is to make it like accessible, this data for a long time, like 10 years accessible. So, and therefore it's very important to write this. And then the terminology service, this is related to ontologies and vocabularies. So there's a centralized, or there will be a centralized terminology service that build up and collect terminologies from different domains and make them findable. And you can even include them into your own infrastructure by, for example, widgets in your web widgets or something like this. So there's a lot of development going on. Then within this NFDI for CAD, where I'm mainly involved, so it's for catalysis. We develop a shared vocabulary for catalysis and biocatalysis. This is done on GitHub. So we have a colleague of mine and developed a vocabulary collection pipeline and cleaning pipelines for SCOS vocabularies. So we collect vocabularies around catalysis and biocatalysis, and the idea is to standardize certain terms and define them there, and then you have like a lookup service, and these collections then go into this terminology service that I was talking about in the previous slide, on the previous slide. So there's then a connection between the vocabulary collected in the domains, and this goes then to the centralized vocabularies. And similar developments happen in many of these consortia, which I was explaining. And it's very important that you define shared vocabularies, because you need to standardize this, the objects of what you, or terms that you're using to share data, and to identify what you mean, and specify what you mean by using such vocabularies, for example. So that's a very key component in this shared data idea. Another development that is related to the what I called what I mentioned before is the PID service. So our consortia has an own one, PID for CAD, and it's dedicated for samples and documents that are, or data sets that are related to catalysis, so we add additional metadata to these vocabularies, to these data within the identifier. It's persistent identifier is not just an URL, but it can also contain metadata, or you can retrieve metadata from this PID services, and we are currently exploring a way to add semantic metadata, metadata for catalytic or biocatalytic data sets. Another shared and collaborative work is done with a repo for CAT. So this is a repository, shared repository for data sets, for publications, for all kinds of data that is somehow finalized, and there's the link to it, so repository at .nfdi4cat.org, and there you find data sets that are related to catalysis, and the idea is to have like a dedicated, a centralized repository for catalysis and biocatalysis related data. Okay, then another collaboration within this NFDI for Chem NFDI consortium is with NFDI for Chem, and in this chemistry domain, we sharedly develop a representation of the metadata based on DCAT AP, so the data catalog vocabulary application profiles, which is a European standard for specifying metadata for data sets, especially. And we add in this application profile, we add chemistry and catalysis related metadata to it. The DCAT AP standard just formulates a very general way of how you specify metadata, and these application profiles, they specify then these data catalogs more domain specific. So you can add additional information, like, for example, for a chemistry data set, you can add which chemicals were used in a certain reaction, which reaction was investigated, which devices or measurement types have been used, etc. So, and another very important and not yet solved problem is how to ontologically describe reactions and to make them queryable, so that you can, for example, ask what type of reaction was that if these and these components were involved, or what is the predicted products if a certain reaction occurs, or if these and these products happen, what type of reaction could it be? So things like that. So many questions can be addressed by reaction ontology, but it's very difficult, especially for reactions, because you have a lot of levels where you can model chemical reactions. You can be very generic, or very, very deeply quantum level modeling these reactions, so electron distributions and then electron transitions. So a lot of different or stereo selectivity, stereo enhancer selectivity, stereochemistry, all these kinds of things are quite complex to formulate within this ontology framework, and we are trying to explore what can be done with ontologies and where's the limitation. And a third collaboration is within the terminology services, which are then related to Voc4Cat, for example, where we build shared vocabularies that are also distributed on the NFDI for Chem web pages. Then there's a even higher and broader organization that builds up fair data infrastructure, the European Open Science Cloud, and I'm in this semantic and interoperability work group. And there, again, a lot of people are working together, so collaborate upon practical implementations of interoperability guidelines. So how data can be, for example, exchanged between certain institutions, under which means, so with which legal constraints, and what technical which technologies can be used to share these data, and how can this data be stored, accessed, distributed, who gets access rights. It's much more complicated on a European level, because there are much more people with different disciplines involved, a lot of different, let's say, mentalities or perspectives on how data can, and scientific data can be used and reused. So, and all of that needs to somehow needs to be put into a framework, and this semantic interoperability work group develops some guidelines and best practices for that. Okay, and the last point where I would like to talk about collaborations is SiLA, so standardization of lab automation, where a lot of people here in this smart labs are involved. So there's a lot of development going on in the work groups. So we have different implementations. There are web pages. There's a web page where you can constantly see the progress of how SiLA helps to develops shared servers for supporting lab automation, and it's a non-profit organization to enable communication between lab devices in a way that data can be transferred easily from one lab device or server to another. So, and one example is, for example, if you have a robotic platform, then if you convert everything to SiLA, then you can control it in an abstract way. And I'm very happy that SiLA exists, because with that we can run our robotic platform, which is, you see here, with open source. So that's an amazing technology, and I'm very happy about that. So many people help and contribute. And to close, I would like to thank a lot of collaborators here. So from people from the TU Berlin, from Lille, from Darmstadt, from Brno, from the SiLA people, the NFDI people, the European Science Cloud people, and of course, people from our group. So by that, thank you for your attention.